From the studios of Books in Motion, this is Damon Abdallah reading Cozy Up to Christmas by Colin Conway. Now, let's begin with Chapter 1. You can't fool me. There ain't no Santa Claus. Chico Marx, A Night at the Opera. What do you want for Christmas? Ed Belmont asked. Calvin stared up with slack-jawed fascination as his eyes continued to widen behind smudged glasses. The boy wore an orange winter coat, blue jeans, and oversized black snow boots. An orange and black knitted cap was pulled down over his ears. Susan Roscom stood behind a camera-mounted tripod. She was a small, thin woman with short blonde hair tucked underneath a set of plush reindeer antlers. Susan wore black slacks, a red shirt, and a black sweater with a green Christmas tree in its middle. Multicolored lights on the tree blinked on and off. From behind the camera, Susan raised a thumb into the air, then waved. She lifted her head from the viewfinder and smiled broadly. "Got a good one." Calvin reached for Ed's beard, but the big man pushed the boy's hand away. Susan stepped over to a line of 11 parents and 14 children. They all waited anxiously behind a maroon velvet rope linked together by a series of brass stanchions. Ed knew there were 14 children because he took the time to count them. He did that while in prison, knowing how many unpleasant things awaited him, like counting the number of days left in a stretch or how many inmates hostile toward him were in the yard at one time. Or like now, Ed always knew precisely how many kids waited in line. "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" played through speakers high above center court for the 40th time that day. Shoppers walked by with bags in both hands and paused briefly to check out Ed. Some even waved. Occasionally, he returned the gesture. Citizens liked that kind of thing. Ed leaned slightly toward the boy. "Well?" he asked softly, because Susan had said his gravelly voice might intimidate the children. Calvin's tongue slowly peeked out through parted lips, a reluctant turtle exposing its head to the world. The boy continued to stare with awe. Ed looked at Calvin's mother. She stood on the other side of the rope. Her hands were clasped, and she grinned expectantly. She danced lightly from one foot to the other. The woman wore an orange winter coat and blue jeans tucked into oversized black snow boots. Long brown hair fell from the orange and black knitted cap pulled tightly down on her head. Twins, Ed thought. It wasn't the worst way that a parent had dressed their child, but it was definitely odd. He whispered, "Come on, kid, there's others." When Calvin failed to respond, Ed jerked his knee slightly. This jostled the boy, and he squeaked. His arms flailed, and he started to fall backward, but Ed had a hand on Calvin's back to stop him. The nearby crowd oohed at the boy's clumsiness, then laughed with relief at Ed's saving of him. Calvin's mother stopped dancing, and she stepped toward the velvet rope. As the cord wrapped around her waist, one of the brass stanchions tilted slightly. The mother leaned forward, and her neck stretched out in hopes of being closer to her son. Ed eyed the kid. "Anything?" This time his voice wasn't so soft. The boy blinked twice and then bent toward him as if to share a secret. "Are you really Santa?" "What do you think?" "Are you?" Ed groaned and looked around, not making eye contact with anything in particular. This was his life until Christmas Day, an endless list of silly demands and misplaced astonishment. What was with these parents, Ed wondered? Didn't they teach their children anything useful? Like life is unfair, you don't get what you want, and that there's no such thing as Santa? He inhaled deeply and returned his attention to Calvin. The kid must have been about 3. Ed was in his 4th week of this gig, and he'd gotten pretty good at guessing the ages of the children. It was a skill he never wanted nor thought he would need to develop. This sort of phenomenon, the star-struck adulation, frequently happened with the younger ones. The older ones often got straight to their demands, like little terrorists. Even though he didn't like those children any better, Ed appreciated their directness. It got them off his knee faster, moved the line along quicker. Talking with young children was like talking to deranged kittens. Neither held any appeal, and the sooner a person could leave them with their mothers, so much the better. "Are you?" Calvin insisted. "Yeah, sure, kid, I'm Santa. Why else would I be here?" Here was the Superior Mall in Utopia.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?